that Obi was neither a member of IPOB nor supported its cause at any point in time. In the statement, the global family said the global family of the indigenous people of Biafra under the command and leadership of our great leader, Mazin Nnamdi Kanu, wishes to advise the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso, not to involve IPOB in the selection process, the core election in Nigeria. The Nigerian politicians generally and Kwankwaso in particular should desist from linking IPOB with Peter Obi, his political ambition and campaign. Peter Obi is not an IPOB member and never supported our agitation for freedom at any time because he pursues a totally different goal from that of the indigenous people of Biafra. We have no interest in the Nigerian morally decadent and fantastically corrupt political system and landscape. And of course, that's coming from a more powerful. It was good to have you on ATN Blowout this morning.
Thank you.
The issue of IPOB and the Igbo presidency 2023 is one issue that a lot of people have been curious about. If Obi is going to be the president of Nigeria, because he is not a presidential candidate for a political party, so if he's going to be the president of Nigeria, everyone is watching and asking, how is he going to separate himself from the agitation, the Biafra agitation by IPOB? And going beyond that, is he really going to be a president of Nigeria or a president for the Igbo people? Now IPOB is coming out to warn Rabiu Kwankwaso, desist from bringing us in. Our agendas are different. He is pursuing to operate in the politically corrupt and decadent politicking we have in Nigeria. That's not what Biafra, they want the Biafra nation and Biafra people. What's your take?
Well, IPOB has always maintained that they are not interested in who becomes the president of Nigeria. Even if the president and the vice have to come from the Igbo extraction, they are not interested. They believe the agitations that they are making is intentionally to get the Igbo race out of what they call, I don't want to use the word they use in describing the country that we are currently in. I believe it's a misplaced priority for Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, former governor of Kano State and NNPP presidential candidate, to be speaking about the Igbo factor in the presidency of the 2023 as to why he cannot deputize Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State. I believe there is no reason, there is no nexus between the presidential ambition of Peter Obi. Peter Obi had not, there is no video that we know of, there is no evidence that we know of that Peter Obi is an IPOB member. There are many Igbos who are not.
All right, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back on ATN Blowout. Please stay with us. Making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810-634-1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
The people, the candidate, the party. The campaigns. What really makes an election year? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and
All right, good to have you back on ATN Blowout this morning. If you're just joining us, we've been looking at issues surrounding IPOB and Kwankwaso statement. IPOB is saying Kwankwaso should not bring them into Obi's politics. Before we took that break, we had Iwo speaking to us on his take on this. Iwo, please.
Okay, so like I established earlier, I do not think that anybody in the person of Kwankwaso should bother himself with, especially someone who is seeking to be president of a country. I do not think that making statements that could incite a section of the country is presidential. It is not. I expected him to be a lot more diplomatic. If we are having somebody who wants to be president of this country, he should understand the secularity of the nation and the fact that we are separated by ethnic and religious lines. Now, when you say that people will not vote a Peter Obi, you are not just talking about Peter Obi himself. Peter Obi, as of today, represents the Igbo race. So when you are talking about Peter Obi, you have to be careful with the kind of things you say. It's the same thing as, let's say, in 2015, you talking about a Muhammadu Buhari. You are talking about the North. You're talking about the Muslims. So when Kwankwaso should learn at his age and then start, Kwankwaso will be a lot more careful with what he's doing. I expected that he would be a lot more careful with what he's doing. I expected that Kwankwaso will understand that Peter Obi is an individual who would probably have a presidential ambition like we have today, and that I can easily say, I don't want to be a vice presidential running mate to Peter Obi because I feel that he does not have the capacity to win the election. But going outside the personality of Peter Obi and then questioning his origin, to my mind, is unpresidential and is not for someone who wants to be a president of a country. But that IPOB is like this, is an extremist organization, has been declared by the court. I expect that sometimes some of these statements cannot even make those who support Peter Obi presidency in the North to stop supporting him, because they now feel that, okay, it will be an ethnic bigot and all of that. So it is better that we, while making statements either in support of one or the other, we should be interested in making statements that does not incite the other sections or religious divides of the country. That is the kind of Nigeria that we want to see.
Now, talking about particular time, there's this desperation to either substitute himself or substitute Peter Obi for the VP position under the NNPP. We did not say this is the right time, because it will help Nigerians to understand that Peter Obi absolutely has nothing to do with the IPOP group.
Oh, but for as long as I can remember, Peter Obi has always expressed his views that he does not support a divided Nigeria. He feels that Nigeria has a lot. And you remember, he's coming from an economic background. For a businessman is interested in more persons coming into the environment where he does his business. Because what it means is that he has potential buyers. So from someone who comes from that kind of background, and then someone who had been 2 times governor of a state as spectacularly important as Anambra, you do not expect that a Peter Obi will support an IPOB, because of course the activities that they are doing, yes, it might at the face value look as if it will benefit the Igbo rest. But is there any part of this country that you go to that you do not see an Igbo businessman? Yeah, in fact, in my place, there is an adage that says if you go to a place, you do not see an Igbo man, you probably will leave that place. But what it means is that people are not friendly. Because an Igbo man goes to a community that is friendly to them, the Igbo man can set up, can build skyscrapers there, and he can live for the rest of his life there, because so long as the people are receptive. So there is just no reason to try to link, dissipate the energy of a Kwankwaso who is seeking to be president in trying to whip up sentiments, whether on religious or ethnic bias. For me, my interest is this: there is just no reason why anybody who is interested in becoming the president of Nigeria in 2023 should now be using either the religious or the ethnic divide to incite the public in order to get sympathy votes. There is just no reason to do that. If he doesn't want to be presidential running mate to Peter Obi, he should just state that clearly to us. He should not tell us that the Northerners would not vote a Peter Obi because of where he comes from, or that the Easterners will not support a Kwankwaso or an Atiku because of where he comes from. That, for me, does actually make no sense politically.
Hello, Patience. All right, while we wait to join our Abuja studio. Okay, Patience, please.
Okay, I can hear you now. The indigenous people of Biafra, we all know they are agitating to be an independent state. But then again, they are saying they are not a political group, and that I understand. But Peter Obi is an Igbo man coming from the southern eastern part of Nigeria who wants to become president. I was thinking that there will be much kind of support even from the indigenous people of Biafra, being the fact that it's been long an Igbo man ascend the presidential seat. Even though I know that IPOB is not a political platform, but they are agitating for independence due to some reasons. No, don't you think that there should be more support for Peter Obi, still coming from the indigenous people of Biafra? What do you think about this?
Okay, you see, IPOB, like you rightly noted, is a separatist organization. You see, you cannot be telling your father that you want to leave the house and go and build your own house. And then your father is telling you, okay, I will leave the parlor for you. Use 2 rooms in the house and then use the parlor. And then what really made you to want to stay on your own is not the fact that your room is not spacious. It is the fact that you want to be independent of your own. You want to live in a space that is peculiar to you. That is, if we understand what IPOB stands for, that is what they are interested in. So if IPOB is interested in having a separate nation for themselves, where they call Biafra, even if they erroneously created, took part of River State, where I come from, to be part of their supposed Biafra. But for whatever it is, I do not think that IPOB would, in their usual manner, express support for Peter Obi. In fact, if they do that, it's bad business for Peter Obi. I believe that Imapafu knows what he's doing. Now, if you listen to the statement, they did not categorically attack the personality or the character of a Peter Obi, because they understand that if you want to get a country, for instance, a nation, you should have at least somebody because there will be a referendum. So the person who wants to spearhead the processes of all of that should be somebody who aligns with your thoughts. But as we speak, it may be in his mind. A Peter Obi may like the Biafra being a nation of itself, but he hasn't expressed that thought to us. And you know, in the court they say you can't get what you did not ask for. So if the man had not said that he is related to, he aspires to be in a separate country as Biafra, I do not think that we should link him to whatever Biafra it is. Now, as a demonstration of the fact that he does not support the Biafra agitation, you will see that he's aspiring to be president of Nigeria. Nnamdi Kanu said even if you give him the president of Nigeria, he would not take, because he believes that the Igbo race is better off in a Biafra than in a Nigeria, where he called what is unprintable.
Yes, let's not go into what Nnamdi Kanu's tirade on when it comes to Nigeria. But let's go to something real quick on this. Few days ago, just about the time when Kwankwaso made, just about a few hours or a day or thereabout before Kwankwaso made these statements, Peter Obi's son, the picture of Peter Obi's son was seen circulating in the social media, and then after that, we had this Kwankwaso statement about not being voting for Peter Obi and all that. Now, in that image, it was shown that we saw a Peter Obi's son,
A supposed
Peter Obi's son, standing on a Nigerian
Flag.
with a
yes.
Biafra t-shirt.
Yes.
And well, Peter Obi is here to show us his son, so we don't even know what his son looks like officially. Now with that, and then having this coming at the heel after the release of the picture, we now have Kwankwaso making this statement. Juxtaposing these two, do you think we are looking at the kind of ugly politicking we had in 2014-2015 that brought the Buhari's government?
Well, I believe that first, Peter Obi had not told us who his son is. He had not told us, he had not given us a picture of whether the young man that is trending on the social media platforms, whether it's actually his son. But let us even assume that the young man is the son of Peter Obi. The man I saw in the picture is over 20 years. By every standard, by the UN standard, he is up to an adult age, meaning that he could have a mind of his own. So if a man have a mind of his own at my age, you do not expect that I could be a member of the APC and my father can be a member of the PDP. So what it means, or any other party for instance, but what it means is that Peter Obi should, what my own take is, Peter Obi should not be linked to the activities of his adult son. But I've read a few reports that says the young man being photoshopped and said is Peter Obi is not actually Peter Obi's son, and that it's a means of when it's close to election period, just as we have right now, there is always a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of propaganda, and all of that, trying to whittle down the strength of each other. This is what politicians in Nigeria are used to. In fact, even in the Western world, there is always, once somebody has something that they can use to whip up sentiment against the opponent, they always try to utilize that. But as we speak, Peter Obi has not told Nigerians or anybody at all that the person that is trending on the social media is his son, and that is an IPOB member. So I believe we should take a man for the things he said and for the things he has taken responsibility for. We should not take a man for what he had not related himself to. It is like shaving a man's head in his absence. It doesn't make sense to me.
And I don't even know how that is possible. But let's go to our second story for this morning. Police says, it is in Anambra State, police says terrorists did not invade Onitsha Church. The police in Anambra State has dismissed as stories making the rounds that 4 terrorists entered the Grace of God Church Onitsha, Anambra, on Sunday in an effort to bomb the place. Addressing the public, police spokesperson Tochukwu Ikenga in Oka revealed that a Facebook post made by one China Sawaru that terrorists sneaked into the church was meant to mislead the public. The post maker Waru had claimed in the post that suspected terrorists burnt a congregant while 3 others fled into a nearby military barracks just as they were still holding others to ransom. However, police spokesperson said the post was not only false but a complete mischievous scheme to cause tension in the state by inciting ethnic and or religious hatred and conflict. Ikenga explained that the police received a distress call on Sunday that one criminal was set ablaze in an area of the town. He added the police operatives made inquiries on arrival at the scene and gathered that the victim was a criminal caught in an attempt to rob someone he was lynched by an angry mob. Again, the ugly nature of our 2014, 2015 politicking seems to still be there. While issues are going on, this is a time when we ought to be very careful with the information we put out in public. Someone clearly came up, because if that actually happened, you agree with me that it would be everywhere in the news. It wouldn't be just from one Chinasa war. So, but here we are again, Nigerians looking for any opportunity to make themselves into what they are not supposed to be. Imagine the issues this would have caused if the police had not stepped into this.
The issue with fake news, or what you call youthful exuberance, or the idea to want to be popular unnecessarily, it's something that the security organizations and the National Communications Commission had to look at, because at some point last year or 2020 there was this intention to kind of censor social media to be able to get people who incite the public with fake stories, rumors that are not there. Because you cannot tell me that in a church that you suppose, a supposed church, where that kind of attack would have taken place, that there will be no relative of the victims, like we saw in Owo, in Ondo State, where even the governor had to personally visit the scene of the incident, the St. Francis Catholic Church. So the point is that people should try to be a lot more responsible to themselves and to the society by not trying to whip up sentiments that are not necessary. By the 5 eastern states is currently under whether I will call it a siege by these what they call unknown gunmen. Now, it is not important. It is also important, therefore, that those who even reside there should not try to also increase the scope of violence that we already have on ground there. I think that this the person who made the post, if possible, the police should arrest him or her, and then let the person come and explain where the thing happened. In fact, he should take the police to the scene of the incident so that we can establish that there is veracity in his or her claim. Because it doesn't make sense to me for somebody to just wake up anytime he likes, anytime he or she likes, and then just make unnecessary fake stories that can incite violence. In fact, I'm not a lawyer, but I know that he or she can be charged for inciting violence, for action intended to incite violence. Because, of course, if you go and tell somebody that terrorists, because today we are made to believe from all that has happened so far that the ones that have been identified, the terrorists in this country that have been identified so far, most of them are from a section of the country that I do not want to mention. Now, because they are from a section of the country which is other than the eastern part of the country, if you say they've attacked a church, what you're doing is that you're whipping up a religious and ethnic sentiment, which we earlier said in the previous story that it is not something we should continue to do as a country. We should continue to play our parts in uniting this country the more, because the more we keep dividing, the less we have opportunity to develop and expand the frontiers of our economic and industrial advancement.
Federal government of Nigeria is making deliberate steps at regulating the content on social media and having what people published curtailed. Because in one sense, I think many of those people who post those videos take advantage of the fact that, oh, it's the season. You recall that of recent, the Owo attack just happened.
Yes.
So probably the person who had posted this video said, okay, maybe it's the right time to use another sentiment of church to fly this video. And of course, Anambra for some time now have been tensed. Just a couple of weeks back, Isofia, which happens to be the local government where the current governor had come from, was under attack. And some areas in Orumba North, as report had it, were also under attack. So basically, do you think the federal government is deliberate about getting these things curtailed, and do they have the resources to do so?
Well, Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, had said that uh, that the federal government has the wherewithal and then the resources and the not just the resources, not just the wherewithal, that they have all it takes to be able to censor or monitor the activities of Nigerian citizens on the social media space. But I don't know how that is possible. As I don't know, except maybe Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, and the rest of them would probably give them an unequaled access to these social media platforms. If not, I do not see. I'm not an IT person. I'm a journalist, but I do not see how possible it is for someone to say that it's possible for them to be able to censor completely the activities of all Nigerian citizens on the social media. I don't see how that is possible, but Lai Mohammed will have us believe that the federal government has the capacity to do that. Whether the federal government has the capacity to do that or not, the Nigerian citizens themselves should be able to tell themselves that people should be responsible for what they do. I believe that whether they are able, if Iwo makes a post that incites the public, the security organization should pick up Iwo and let Iwo go and answer for his actions. That is what I believe is possible, because I do not think that at the moment it is possible for anyone, for the federal government that we have in Nigeria is presently structured, a government that cannot address a lot more important and serious issues is the one that will not have time to go and be monitoring. In fact, we did NIN, right? And then our lines were linked. Whether you have 10 lines or so, you would have linked it by NIN. But how many persons that are using mobile phones to communicate with families of victims of kidnap are the police arrested because they were able to get them through their phone lines? If we have not been able to do that one, that is very simple to do, because all you needed to do is to have a relationship with the network provider and track that this is the line that is being used to do these conversations, and then you get a record of that conversation. Because whether you like it or not, all the calls you have made, if certain security protocols are breached, they can actually get a record of your conversations on the phone, because of course you are not your network provider, and without the network providers there is no way you can make calls. So if the one that is as simple as just getting the necessary legal procedures done with, and then get a record of the conversations between these people and be able to trace who is the owner of the phone lines that is being used to do those conversations with the victims, families of victims of kidnap, we could not do that. Is it coming to a social media platform that is not cited in Nigeria, the one that is in the US and other parts of the Western world? Is it that one that we cannot have control over? I do not believe that currently we have capacity to be able to completely censor the social media. But what I believe is that we have capacity to prosecute anybody who makes inciting and fake reports that can incite violence in the country. That is what I think is possible for today. I do not think that it is possible to completely censor the social media. That's, for me, is a force.
Curtail the activities on social media. But then again, some years back or more, the government were trying to talk about hate speech. And you'll find out that if you make a post, let me use, for example, Facebook, you'll find out that Facebook will block you for a period of 30 days. Like there is they'll ban you for a period of 30 days based on some kind of comment you made that might instigate the government. So now, if the government can partner with people like Mark Zuckerberg or in talking about hate speech and blocking people from posting some content, then why is it that they can't use that same measure in apprehending people who post fake or rumored content on social media?
Okay, the point is this. Um, yes, I have a few friends who, in fact, we laugh it off on the social media that it's called prison. So they'll say I'm in Nsuka Bread's prison. That's trying to talk about the owner of Facebook, the CEO of Facebook, Mike Zuckerberg. So the thing is, yes, if there are posts you make, especially for scenes that are gory, if you make a post with a gory scene and then you did not cover the picture or do a reminder that the content of this video is gory and that people should, if you do not want to see a gory scene, you should not open the content. If you don't do something like that, Facebook will actually clone that post, and then sometimes they will completely take it off or suspend your account. So I know they do that a lot. But the point I am making is this. Even with that, you needed the cooperation of Facebook to be able to do that. And then that, in fact, became effective after Twitter was shut down for some time. Now, so the point I am making is this. We do not have direct and complete unequal access to censoring the social media platform in Nigeria as of today. I want somebody to convince me otherwise.
A quick question before we go over to the third issue we have for this morning. There's something called flagging an account.
Yes.
Like in the bank, if the bank notices there is something about the movement of cash in an account, they quickly flag the accounts and then get the attention of the customer to the, I mean, I've had that experience, oh, are you the one authorizing this?
These transactions.
Transaction and all that. Now, when Twitter was unbanned, there were all kinds of arrangements that the government entered into, not just with Jack, the owner of Twitter, but with other social media platforms. One of which was they have to establish their offices in Nigeria. They have got to follow some regulatory codes and all that. Even recently, the government also came out to talk about, to ask these guys to monitor what they put, what people put on social media. But I have a challenge with the government, depending, like this is an internal issue right now. That's supposedly a Nigerian, with a Nigerian name, an Igbo name, saying something insightful that happened supposedly happened in Onitsha, when in actual sense, that never happened. So there is a problem with the Nigerian government depending on the social media operators who are not even Nigeria, whose business are not just in Nigeria, to help them check the excesses of our social media operators in Nigeria. And that's because we talked about the name, of course. Now, if you think, if the government really wants to do this, that then they should introduce first a comprehensive national database. This is what if they do that, if that is in place, do you also think that can help to say, okay, if you're going to be on Nigerian social media space, if your name is Vivian Ngozika Douglas Ezugu, for instance, on your name, that with your name you cannot have access to social media. Do you think, because I think that should be an easy thing for the government to do, but again, what's your take?
Okay, we are talking about the effect of pseudonyms and then in trying to get persons who make public comments that are post on social media that are not in actual sense realities of the day. The thing is this, like you rightly mentioned, there is the NIN, the National Identity Number, and then there is the bank verification number, there is the National ID card, and then there is the INEC voters card. There is a lot.
Immigration.
A lot. The international passport, the ECOWAS passport, as much as people. In fact, there are people that have, I think, maybe in the exception of one, that I do not have. If not, I have all of these things. And then, yet, when my picture is on my profile, and then I make, and the country, then I now say, let's say my name is Iwo Wrongbo. I now maybe go to answer Simon Jeremiah. Why is it difficult for, despite all the fact that they have my pictures, they have my fingerprints, they have all of those things, and yet they cannot still trace me?
Which is why I asked,
so the point is this: do we even the database that we are supposedly gathering, the data we are gathering for a day to get a complete database of all Nigerian citizens, supposedly I said so because they've not made us believe that these things are actually effective. How effective are those things? Because there is just no reason. I noticed after I would have spent some money to try to do my NIN during the Eid period, where they said if you do not do it, they will ban your line. It was after I did the whole NIN thing, after all the stress, that I got to know that I actually have an NIN on my BVN. In fact, anybody, for bankers, they could explain better. Anyone, any Nigerian citizen who did BVN at the first 6 months that it started actually has an NIN, actually have a national identification number. You have it. It's on that on the platform. In fact, as they do it, I think it is automatically generated for you. So it was when I was trying to use my line to get this, and the young man who did the thing for me says, "Sir, you have it already." So if we have it already, why stress me to be entering line, going to one place to the other, looking for a way to get my national identification number, when in essence I actually have it. Now that proves to you that these people just get our data and maybe dump it somewhere and are not serious in trying to link these information to a point where if you just go on Google and then type Iwo, my NIN number shows. So the security organizations, in order to get me, do not even need to try to look for the real name that I actually have. They could just go to my phone number, they could just type my details online and then get all of this information, my address, my hometown, everything is already there. So what are we now looking for, trying to pay people to spy on the person, try to get information from the person, when we already have the person by himself coming to give us these informations? So for me, the bottom line is this. The National Communications Commission, which is supposed to be in charge of all of this, had not shown us any reason to believe that whatever data, whatever information they are getting from us, that they are actually making good use of those data, because there is no reason why an Iwo should go to Facebook and answer another name, and then Facebook will not be able to tell him that from the information we gather from the country you said you are coming from, this is not your name. You're having a wrong identity.
On algorithm, but they don't have all our data. So,
and that's because we've not been able to link it as a country.
Very interesting. We have to move to our next story. Is talking about the ASU strike. The union has given condition to back out of the strike. Now, the Academic Staff Union of University, ASU, has raised hopes of students that it is close to calling off the ongoing action that lasted for over 3 months. The body had issued a condition that will cause it to immediately call off the strike that led to the closure of many public universities in Nigeria. Professor Emmanuel Osodoke, ASU president, has challenged the federal government to work with transparency and accountability solution, UTAS payment platform, for it to call off its ongoing strike. Osodoke said the strike will continue unless the government accepts UTAS and honors the 2009 agreement. Let the government tell us they have finished testing the UTAS and sign the agreement, then tomorrow we will call off the strike, Osodoke said. ASU presidents further explained their demands are in the interest of Nigerian students who are learning under unconducive environment. He cited examples of Ghana and South Africa as countries with viable educational systems. You will recall that ASU has been at loggerheads with the federal government for over 3 years over its refusal to honor the 2009 agreement it entered into with the union. Some of the demands in the agreement include the condition of service of university lecturers to be reviewed every 5 years, issues of salary and allowances, revitalization of public universities. Other items on the list include transparency, accountability solution, and the alleged inconsistency in the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System (IPS) payment platform, which the government insists will be used to pay lecturers. Iwo Birombo, the strike is about 145 days or 143 days old and is still counting. What do you make of this development? Is the comment by Emmanuel Osedeke only promising, or it holds some sort of water for the Nigerian students who have been home for quite some time?
In the first place, I beg to say that both ASU and the federal government appears to have taken the Nigerian students for granted. By providence, I attended both the Polytechnic and the university. And in each of these institutions that I attended, I had an experience of a strike action. So the question is, I first graduated in 2014, before 2019, my second degree. So the thing is, what did they not do in 2014 that they want to do, that they did not do in 2019, that they now want to do in 2022? Because the issue of ASU always comes up every time. There's always, why is it that government only wants to sit with ASU when it has gotten to a strike action, when they've completely shut down the universities, when they've completely shut down academic activities on campus? In fact, Uniport, as we speak, is overgrown with weeds because there's nobody there. The businesses around the Choba axis is suffering. Those who have properties there no longer have students who are paying rent. In fact, I have a couple of friends whose rent had expired and had even increased months on top of them. And then when the students, if ASU calls off the strike today, when the students go back, most of the landlords do not allow you to stay for the months that you didn't have any class. And then some of these persons are coming from as far as Sokoto to come to Port Harcourt, for instance, to study. There are those who come from Port Harcourt to go to Benin to study. And then these persons have to come back go back to their homes and then stay for this number of months. And at the end of the day, when they finish their running around, their agreement, misunderstanding, and then all of that, you will now notice that federal government will be implementing these things in piecemeal. So if they agree, for instance, for a 6 billion naira, you see a federal government give 500 million naira for a start. And then tell them that there's no problem. We are going to attend to the issues. We are going to make sure that we implement the agreements. This agreement was made as far back as 2009, when President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua was the president of the country. Now, from 2009 to 2022, that's about 12 years or thereabout. Now, for 12 years, we've not been able to implement a single agreement. So, what gives ASU the impression that if they enter a new agreement this time, the federal government is going to implement it even in the next 10 years? So what it means is that even in the next 10 years, we should also be certain that it's possible we'll have a lot more industrial crisis than we actually have. And then the NLC, the Nigerian Labour Congress, said today they want to do a mass protest in support, in solidarity with the Academic Staff Union of Universities. So the question I ask is, why has NLC sat for this long before it knew that it could wake up and take an action? Why don't you shut down the refineries? Why don't you shut down the airspace and then see if these politicians who sit down in Aso Rock and the various ministries of government, especially the Ministry of Employment and then the Ministry of Education, if they will not take this thing serious? Because one politician can no longer fly from one place, from one state to the other, and then you will see that they will be able to easily attend to the issues. You remember during the issue of the aviation fuel, when the airlines threatened to shut down operations, you see the swiftness with which they acted. Now, why do they not attach that kind of importance to the education sector?
Now, well, the issue of the diesel, when it came up, that was going to go to 1,000 plus, so they also saw them quickly sit to address that. But there's something critical about the issue of the UTAS and IPIS.
Yes.
And that's because, like I said, ATN was in the press briefing where the regional South-South ASU chairpersons and leaders came together to sit down to say, in that press conference, they have presented the UTAS for all kinds of testing through the Federal Ministry of Technology. They have brought that before them. They have tested it, and UTAS excelled with more than a 90% on all the tests, on all the number of
than
times.
the IPs.
Yes, they have not even, the federal government have not put the IPIS to test yet. And then ASU is asking, okay, if this is really about the UTAS and the IPIS, UTAS is a Nigerian, was designed by a Nigerian based on our peculiarities and it's functioning for us. ASU also said to them that the federal government make public the documents that was used for UTAS. You have it. Okay, okay. We also ask us to let Nigerians know what we are dealing with here, but that is yet to come. However, 140 something days, that's more than close to academic section. We're looking at close to
Yes.
academic section running out where the Nigerian students are still at home. Yet, it doesn't bother this government. They don't even seem to move. And how much is ASU asking from this government? And why is it so difficult for them to implement? Looking at all the charade around ASU being on strike, ASU is saying, this is just what we're asking for. Implement the 2009, and of course, give us UTAS, and we are good to go. Why is this an issue in your estimation?
Dr. Chris Ngige, who initially wanted to contest to be president of this country. I do not know, sometimes these politicians just think that the rest of us are jokes to them. Because if a man cannot take the education of the future leaders, as they say, of this country, they say the youths are the future leaders of tomorrow. So if a man cannot take the education of the youths of this country serious, why aspire to be president of a country? Now, that is the kind of person that has the temerity to come out and say he wants to be president. When, in actual sense, the little one that he has been given to oversee a ministry, he could not give us the productivity that is even in the acronym of his ministry, that is supposed to be the Minister of Labor and Productivity. So the point is this: the Nigerian government as presently constituted, over the years, not just for the Buhari administration, previous administrations and even the present one have shown us that they are not interested in the future of the ordinary citizen of this country. Because, you know, I do not think there is any politician of the rank of a governor whose child is in any of the public universities. In fact, in some states like Rivers State, the state universities are not part of the current strike. And that is why all the ASU strike and all of that, schools are still going on. In fact, as we speak, the Rivers State University, the Ignatius Ajeri University, the Captain Elechi Amadi institution, the rest of the state institutions are still in session as we speak. Whereas the University of Port Harcourt, which is a federal government university, is still under lock and key, except for little non-academic activities that is still going on. Of course, just generally administrative activities. Now, that tells you that we have over 30 federal universities. Now, if we have, let's say, a minimum of 5,000 students per institution, you're talking about over 300,000 students missing out in action for close to 6 months now. And then there is no area of light that it is possible that this strike can end before the end of this year. The man is saying we will even end the strike this midnight if the federal government, there was a Professor Nemi Briggs committee that was set up by the Federal Ministry of Education in conjunction with the Ministry of Labor and Productivity to try to mediate between the federal government and then the Academic Staff Union of Universities. And I understand that as far back as the early days of last month, June, that the committee and ASU have arrived at a decision. Now, the implementation or otherwise of that decision, that was the agreement that was newly entered, is what is still holding the ASU strike up till now. So that shows that the federal government is insincere about the intention to end the strike. Because you do not set up a committee to try to end a strike, and then the committee has finished its work, the committee has submitted its report for weeks, and you are here to even open the report and look at it. You are here to call ASU to come and say, okay, what are we going to do? These are the ones that we can implement. These are the ones that it will take. There should be a long-term and a short-term implementation plan. But do we even have that plan already? Because you set up a committee of a man in the caliber of a Professor Nemi Briggs to go and get these people to sit on a round table with them. These people listen to you. These people obey you. These people they show you the willingness to be able to work and arrive at something, so that, because even they, the lecturers, I have a few friends who are lecturers. if they don't go to class for 1 week, there's a way they feel bad. Now imagine that you have to sit down for months and you're not going to work. Most of the lecturers are not happy that they are seated at home. But what would you have them do when an agreement that was reached 12 years ago can still not be implemented up till today? And then there is nothing pointing for you to believe that they are even willing to implement it in the next few months. So for me, I want to urge the federal government, especially President Muhammadu Buhari, to particularly see this as an order of national emergency, that it should see it as a national emergency to attend to the issue of us so that our students can go back to classes. Because we can't have students keep loitering around their homes.
Government should take this as a matter of national urgency. Let us now take it to Patience. Patience, are you still there?
Okay. Now, looking at the issue of ASU, I would say, is the Nigerian government actually fair enough? Looking at this is affecting the educational system in Nigeria. Why is it that government is always finding it very difficult to meet an agreement? Why are they finding it very difficult to meet agreement? And are they really fair enough? Are they actually fair enough?
Okay, you ask, why does the federal government or any government at all in Nigeria have issues with implementing agreements entered willingly, not at gunpoint? Now, it shows you the insincerity of those we have in government. Because I do not see why I will have an agreement with you and then I have the resources to be able to attend to those things. The agreements were not done, like I said, at gunpoint. It was a willing thing where I said, okay, from this that you asked, these are the ones that I can do. And then the man who is asking for it, so okay, if you said you can do this one, you can do this one, there's no problem. Go ahead and do them. Then I now find it difficult to be able to implement the same things that I said I was going to do. That shows that I am an insincere person. So the second factor, like I said earlier, is the fact that their children, their wards, do not attend these institutions. So there is no importance that they are attached to it. The way and manner, if you go to some of our public schools and see the level of deficit in the infrastructures there, you will get to understand me better, that these people are not interested. Their children go to schools. In fact, most of them now, they now take their children, the ones that even want to study in Nigeria, they take their children to private schools. So how does the son of a minister of education is now schooling in a private school when the father superintends over the public, all the public schools in the country, and then his own children do not attend the same school? That is him giving a vote of no confidence on the educational sector, the public education in the country. So you can't pass a vote of no confidence on the system and then you still believe in a place where you said you do not have confidence in by your action. So they do not believe in our educational system. They do not believe that the system that we have is able to train their children to who they want to be. And so since they do not believe in the educational system of the country that we currently have, that is why they do not attach any form of importance to what we have.
All right, interested. Thank you very much, Iwobi. Iwobi saying this morning that the federal government and some of the ministers who are heading the relevant authorities or ministries concerning the education of this country are not expressing enough sincerity because they have their children and what? Schooling abroad and in some private universities. These are some questions seeking for answer this morning, but we have to go on a break. When we come back, there's more to discuss on the program.
Meet the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194. ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810 634 1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election year? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, channel.
You're still tuned into and watching ATM Blowout this morning, and we've been discussing some very pertinent issues in the news. Now we'll move on to the next issue we have at hand concerning the Supreme Court of Nigeria, where a rights group is saying all is not well with the judiciary. Now a social justice group, Center for Democracy and Development, has said happenings in recent times at the Supreme Court indicate that all is not well at the highest court in the land. The organization recalled that two former Chief Justices of Nigeria have been enmeshed in allegations of corruption. In a statement by the Forum of Fellows for the Center of Democracy and Development, the group said although the immediate past CJN has not been found guilty, the speculation surrounding the resignation of Muhammad Tanko suggested that he did not resign of his own volition. The statement signed by Professor Adele Jenadu, Jibrin Ibrahim, and Oke Ibianu partly read, "There have been allegations, rumors, and innuendos in connection with the former CJN, including rumors of bribery and undue interference of his family in the work of the Supreme Court. Although there is no evidence to back this, the speculation suggests that he did not resign of his own volition." Speaking further, we can surmise from this that all is not well with the Supreme Court. It will be recalled that CJN Tanko Mohammed, predecessor Chief Justice Walter Onoge, was suspended on January 25, 2019 following a questionable prosecution by the Code of Conduct Tribunal. At a time also when the residency of several judges, including justices of the Supreme Court, were raided by the security operatives. They also accused the executive arm of the government of meddling in the activities of the judiciary. The group highlights that there is strong evidence of the executive getting involved in activities that interfere with the independence of the judiciary. In other words, there is a challenge to the constitutional principle of separation of power and integrity and independence of the judiciary. They however called for the improvement of the conditions of service of judicial officials, especially judges and magistrates at all levels, adding that their tenure properly guaranteed to insulate them from political and societal pressure and corrupting influences. Iwo Obirombo, let me come to you. The Nigerian judiciary has been experiencing so much lately, especially where you have orders from quarters that are not actually proven to go get some chief justices arrested, sometimes busted into their homes, and several others. What do you make of this development, talking about the supremacy of the Supreme Court and also the overriding principle of the Constitution of Nigeria?
Well, the immediate past Chief Justice of Nigeria left in what ordinarily should have been a celebrated situation, but because of the peculiarity of the issues before his resignation, people are made to believe that there may be a lot other than what meets the eye. So it's possible that it is not all that all that happened that we're actually told. A few days to his resignation, we had the 14 justices of the Supreme Court wrote a damning letter complaining about a lot of things, part of which is the packages, the trainings, fees, the training they are supposed to attend outside of the country, fact that they travel for trainings and their assistants are not allowed to travel with them, their secretaries and all of that. And then you are having people, I do not think there's anybody in the Supreme Court currently who's not up to 50 years. I do not think there's anyone like that. Now, so, and then this man adds, or this woman has an avalanche of a voluminous kind of cases at his disposal to dispense with. And then he's also going for a training, and you said he should not have an assistant with him. Why? Is somebody in the caliber of a Supreme Court justice. There is no reason. And then to make matters worse, budgetary allocations were made for those trainings, and then you allocate a fund for something, and then the Chief Justice of the country, according to the letter, does not release funds for those things to happen. So what you do is that you're pushing these justices to the corner. You are boxing them to a corner in which, if somebody is coming to tell them, okay, I can pay for your training, they will be willing to, because he who pays the piper detects the tune. So by doing that, you'll be corrupting the judicial system. So I think that yes, we've accepted Tanko's resignation. We've sworn in Justice Ariola as the acting CGN of the country. But the very issues that the Supreme Court justices complain about, are we attending to them?
Are we attending to them? And one of the things that this group is advocating for is the separation of power. In a government where in fact, in the judiciary, from the states to the federal, one of the issues they've talked about is they want to have an independent judiciary. They want to be able to control their funds and do what they need to do. And now these 14 senior advocates of Niger justices were basically saying, our welfare is not being catered for. What you talked about is one of the issues. Their monthly and annual remuneration was also, accounted for. Like you said, few days after that, someone else was brought in who also have some issues around his
age
and educational
qualifications.
And all that. Now, this is where we are today. They're asking, my interest on this is separation of power. In your estimate as a journalist, what do you think it will take for the government to listen, considering how sensitive the judiciary is, to ensure that these people, these men and women, are properly catered for? And of course, that what they can handle themselves, basically. What is the big deal in asking them to give them the opportunity to do that?
I think there was a time they said the National Assembly is passing a bill for judicial autonomy. I do not understand what that means to them. If the judicial autonomy means that the judiciary will have a system within itself to be able to bring out who will be the Chief Justice of the country, or is it just that, okay, they will be getting their allocations directly from the Consolidated Revenue Fund? Or is it that the Revenue, Fiscal and Allocation Commission will no longer be the one to give them the necessary fund that they need to be able to function? So I do not understand the extent to which the much talked about judicial autonomy is about. Because if someone is saying that whatever is due him is not completely given to him, and then we still want that person to be unbiased, we still want that person to be impartial, we still want that person to be just, I do not understand how that can happen. You do not tell an hungry man that he should not eat indomie in the morning, when the only thing he has access to is indomie. He will eat because he needs to survive. So the thing is, in trying to separate powers between the legislative, the executive, and the judicial arm of government, it is an established principle that in a democracy, in a federal system of government like we supposedly have in Nigeria, because I do not feel that we're actually doing what a federal system of government should be. Because I do not see why, these reasons why everybody should go cap in hand, go into Abuja every month end to go and see how to split the national cake. I do not see reasons why we should do that. If in actual sense we're actually having a federal system of government, I do not see reasons why we should be doing that. But let us take for a given that we have separation of powers, Now, if we have separation of powers, why is the president still appointing the head of the judicial arm of government?
To patience. Patience, I know you've been itching to say much.
You know, the judiciary is known to be an independent aspect whereby there shouldn't be any interference from the government. Now, looking at the executive arm of government, the judiciary, legislature, and executive, we could see with recent happenings, the judiciary, that there is an interference from other arms of government. Now, I might not ask this question, but let's forget about what is in the constitution right now. Presently, what kind of system of government is Nigerian operating? Because the autonomy of power in the judiciary has been matched on the ground. The judiciary is no longer given that honor that it used to be known. So now, what kind of system of government is Nigeria operating currently with the way things are going in our executive arm of government? What can you say?
Well, I'm not a political scientist, so I probably would not have the, the capacity to be able to propound the theory of the kind of system of government that we operate. But I just think that we just operate a government that the president likes, whoever that is the sitting president, whatever is his understanding of a federation or a federal system of government, he just operates it the way he likes. If not, I do not see reasons why an agency of the executive arm of government, in this case the Nigerian police, and then the DSS, should go into residence of justices at odd hours of the day to go and arrest them for very flimsy reasons. And then up till now, we are yet to hear that any of those justices whose houses were raided were actually found culpable of the crimes for which they were accused of. So what it means is that the executive arm of government tried to intimidate the other arms of government to be able to buy into whatever ideas, whatever policies, whatever intentions that they have. So I believe, for me, that the system of government that we practice is the system of government according to the president. That is the kind of government that we operate. The president decides whether the judiciary would have leniency to do whatever they want to do. The president decides whether the executive arm of government will not be bullied into passing bills that they themselves do not even believe in. Because the way and manner that the Electoral Act 2022 was passed, and the razzmatazz around it, the controversies and all of that around it, obviously tells us that it's possible that these legislators did not even read the content of the law that they passed. Because how will I pass a bill that I should not have right to vote and be voted for in an election? How will I have passed that kind of bill if I actually went through the letters and characters of that law? So it obviously shows us that the only arm of government that is independent in the country is the executive arm. The legislative arm and the judiciary is not independent. They are not independent. They have not shown us that they are independent. There is no reason to believe that there is any independence in what we currently have. Because, take for instance, anytime there is a bill that the executive arm of government, especially at the federal level, is interested in fact, for the State House of Assembly, which we not even bother ourselves to talk about that, the State House of Assembly are just like the senior personal assistant to the governor. So they just, whatever bill that comes from the executive. I don't think you've ever heard that the governor sent, there is an executive bill and that it did not pass. At the worst case scenario, if probably in the structure and organization of the bill, it was not properly done, the House will ask that it should be sent back to the Ministry of Justice to rework it. Once it is reworked, they bring it back. I covered the State Assembly for over 7 years, so I know what I'm saying. I cannot remember that there was any one executive bill that the legislative arm of government in the place, the state, have been able to jettison for whatever is, maybe because it is not a people bill or it does not promote the unity and the progress of that state. For whatever comes from the executive arm of government to the legislative arm is given a first line chance. So let's go back to the judiciary. In the judiciary, I am yet to see that there is any serious case where the president is completely interested in that the judicial system, the justices of the Supreme Court and other courts have been able to give judgment that everybody will see that they are standing with the law. I am not saying that the president is paying anybody to pass judgments that is in their favor, but I think that the activities that was done in 2020 or thereabout in the raiding of these justices have infused a form of fear and intimidation, undue intimidation to these justices. So when they are taking decisions, nobody wants to be in the bad book of the executive arm of government, and that it is not very good for the kind of government and the kind of Nigeria that we all want to see. As Nigerians, want to see a judicial system that is completely independent and that respects the tenets of our ground norm, which is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and other laws governing the country. That is the kind of judiciary we want to see. Unfortunately, like I said, we operate a government by the president.
All right, whether it's kakistocracy or autocratic government, we are still on the issue of certificate saga. From the present CGN questionable certification to that of Tinubu APC's presidential candidate, CSO seals the IGP over Tinubu's alleged perjury. Now, a civil rights group incorporated trustee of Center for Reform and Public Advocacy has dragged the Inspector General of Police to a federal high court in Abuja for allegedly refusing to prosecute the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, over allegations bordering on perjury. The suit dated and filed on July 4th on behalf of the organization in Abuja by Mike Wankwo has the Nigerian Police Force and the IGP as first and second respondents. The group said that the legal action against the police was necessitated by the IGP's alleged refusal to take action on its petition against Tinubu over an offense it claimed the presidential candidate was indicted by the Lagos State House of Assembly in 1999. The applicants maintained that by sections 214 and 215 of the Constitution and section 4 of the Nigerian Police Act 2020, the police have the statutory responsibility to prevent, detect, and investigate criminal allegations, whether brought to their notice by individuals, person, or persons, corporate bodies, institutions, etc. Consequently, the applicants in the suit asking the court for an order of mandamus compelling the respondents to comply with the sections 31 and 32 of the Police Act and section 3 of the Criminal Justice Act 2015 in respect of alleged crime laid out in complaint of the applicant encapsulated in the letter of June 16, 2022, received by the respondent on the same date. The complaint was titled Demand for Criminal Prosecution of Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu under sections 191, 192, and 463 of the Criminal Code Act, Law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 2004, consequent upon the findings of the Lagos State House of Assembly Ad hoc Committee in 1999. The applicant claimed that by Section 31 of the Nigerian Police Act, the respondents are duty-bound to investigate alleged crime brought to them and report their findings to the Attorney General of the Federation or of a state, as the case may be, for legal advice. The organization added that by Section 32, subsection 1 of the Police Act, a suspect or defendant alleged or charged by committing offense established by an act of the National Assembly or under any other laws shall be arrested, investigated, and tried or dealt with according to the provision of this act, except otherwise provided under this act. Okonkwo claimed it has the legal competence to invoke the jurisdiction of the court to compel the respondent to discharge their legal, constitutional, and public duties in line with the law. And then they went on and on and on and on. But let's come back to this right now. We're at a very critical point in our history as Nigerian. The 2023 election is not like any other election. For the average Nigerian, this is a make or mar moment in our political history. But the concerns that a lot of people share is the fact that Nigeria seemed to be on the verge to repeat the 2014, 15, and 2018, 2019 election year, and of course, another 8-year term of rhetorics. We have issues here. We just finished talking about the CGN, who has a questionable certification, as the case may be. And then we are now talking about someone who, from the ruling party, who may become the Nigeria's president, and that's Tinubu. As far back as 90, this was 20 years ago. Yeah? The Lagos State House of Assembly raised issues about his certificates. He finished from there. He's been the godfather of Lagos, determining who becomes the governor, and now he wants to be Nigeria's president. Do you think, in all fairness, that that the Nigerian police deserve to, for the sake of our future and everyone concerned, do the needful when it comes to Tinubu's certificate?
Well, um, I don't know how you expect the police to want to. They call him the national leader of the All Progressive Congress. If the police do what they are supposed to do ordinarily, by now Tinubu should be telling us why in 1999 he filled form telling us his primary and secondary school, and then in 2022 he fills the same form and refused to tell us where his primary and secondary schools were. And then he's now telling us that an unknown soldier came to his house and then packed his credentials, and so he does not have access to it. So for me, I attended all my institutions in River State so far. Now, should I be able to tell somebody in 40 years from now that I went to school, and I should not be able to mention the people who were in my classmates? I should be able to mention that, okay, this is the name of the school that I attended. This, from this year to this year, at the period that I attended those schools. In fact, does Tinubu not have a CV? Because if he has a curriculum vitae or even a resume, his resume should be able to tell us these places. He told us he worked in Mobile, right? So why is he not telling us the period within which he worked in Mobile? He had told us that one. Why is he not telling us from what point did he rise to become the treasurer of Mobile? Because, these politicians just think that they can use the brains of every Nigerian. It is not possible. You can fool some of the people some of the time. You cannot fool all the people all the time. And I want to support the CSO's suit that the Nigerian police force should get Tinubu, no matter how highly placed. Our laws, there is nobody in this country who is bigger than the laws of this country. Everybody is under the supremacy of our laws. And if somebody had committed an act that is that one can call a perjury, the man should be able to answer to what he has done. Because there's no reason why a man should approbate and reprobate at the same time. In 1999, when you wanted to become governor, you told us you went to school. Now, in 2022, you are almost telling us you didn't go to primary and secondary school. So how did you jump from your bed in the house and went to Chicago University and became a graduate if you do not have the basic qualifications necessary to get admission into the Chicago University? So I feel that maybe it is this idea of a man carrying himself too much, believing that he is bigger than a country or that he is bigger than the institution of government. Because if the man does not feel that he is bigger than the institution of government, he will not have that the mind to go and tell the Independent National Electoral Commission that he does not have a primary or a secondary school certificate. If he doesn't have, should he not be able to at least mention the schools he went to, so that the necessary organizations of government, agency of government, can verify from those institutions. In fact, for WAEC, for instance, if you lose your WAEC certificate, you can write to WAEC officially that for this reason or that reason, I have lost my certificate. WAEC will be able, they still have your data. They will be able to bring out your result again for you. The only thing is that you pay some fees and that you get it. So, in what year? If he's saying he graduated in about 1976 or thereabout, right? Now, NYSC started in 1973, which is 3 years before he graduated. Where did Chief Ahmed Bola Tinubu did his National Youth Service? Because as at the time and the age that he is quoting to be, he was not up to 30 years as at 1976. So if he was not up to 30 years, that would have made him not to be able to attend, not to be able to serve the National Youth Service. Why is he not telling us the name of his place of primary assignment? Where did he serve? In what year did he serve? In which camp did he serve? In which state did he serve? He should be able to tell us all of these things. In this manner, we'll be able to understand that, yes, this man actually had the basic qualifications. If he is not able to prove that to us, then the Independent National Electoral Commission should disqualify Tinubu for perjury.
Interesting. Looking at the position you have taken so far, now you would agree with me that Bola Tinubu is a stakeholder, not just any stakeholder, a strong stakeholder in the APC.
He is called the national leader.
Exactly. Now, if you look at the trajectory of the politics at this moment, if there happens to be any reason for the perjury allegation against Bola Tinubu to be rightly established by a court of competent jurisdiction, you know what that means, right? That he would automatically lose his position as the flag bearer of the APC.
And the APC will still contest the election.
No. There's no substitution.
No, there is.
There's no substitution according to the law.
There is no substitution till the 17th of this month.
But for the person who is running for the office of the presidency, there is no substitution. It's rightly enshrined in the law.
What it means is, if at the moment the APC, the standard flag bearer of the APC is unable to contest the election, you will not deprive the APC for the sins of one man. You will not deprive them completely. They can still substitute that. For this reason, the person we feel that are giving us as a party a wrong information. Therefore, we want to sponsor another person to contest the election on our behalf. And then, if they do it within the period that they still have, between now and 17th of this month, they can still get that done. But once that day had passed, what it means is that should the police listen to the CSO and prosecute Tinubu, and then Tinubu loses at the court, what it means is that INEC will disqualify not just Tinubu, but the All Progressive Congress from contesting the 2023 election. And that, of course, will be the seventh wonder of the world. Because I can assure you that except a miracle is going to happen overnight, there is no way that the ruling government, the ruling party, would not field a candidate for the election in Nigeria. I'm not talking about another country. In Nigeria, that would not happen. Whatever it is that will be done to be able to ensure that the ruling party participate in the election, those things will be done. This is a country, like we earlier said before, the judiciary is not respected for what it should be. So I can assure you that the APC, as presently constituted, will contest the 2023 election, whether or not Tinubu is guilty of the perjury charge.
Let's take it over now to Patience. Patience.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ade, and thank you to the guests. Now, looking at the certificate saga, we've always have these occurrences, and it's still popping up right now. Now, I would just say, are our political aspirants seeking for presidential seats transparent enough? Because I guess if they're transparent, we won't be looking at this. We won't be talking about this right here. Talking about certificates, something that you could just say, I schooled here or there, even though your certificate was burnt or so, there will always be a way. So now, do you think they are transparent enough?
The politicians, I do not know to the extent to which you want them to be transparent. But what I know and what I can say is the fact that with all that has happened, with the propaganda around it, the noise around it, if a Tinubu actually attended a primary and secondary school, he should at this point, for his own integrity, because we cannot have a president whose integrity is questioned. For his own integrity, for his own name, Tinubu is a brand. For his own name, he should be able to open up to us and tell us this, that is the reason why I cannot get my certificates across to INEC. And then at that point, when it is established that with verifiable evidence that yes, he actually attended those institutions, then I think that in the case of Buhari, when the question of his certificate was became an issue, at some point we saw a WAEC, even if it was poorly graded, but at least we saw a WAEC certificate that showed that he actually attended school. Even if the WAEC certificate, but the one I wrote had my picture of over 14 years ago on it. But the one of Buhari had his picture of that year on it. But in whichever way that it came about, the fact was that we actually saw a supposed certificate of President Muhammadu Buhari, then General Muhammadu Buhari. So Tinubu, for his own name, yes, he wants to be, anybody who wants to be president should be transparent enough to tell us the basic information about himself. Because if you're saying you want to lead a population of supposed 200 million people, you should be able to be somebody that we can hold to the things that you say. You can account to us. So how are we sure that you'll be able to account for the funds of this country if a basic thing as his own educational qualification he cannot explain to us? How will he be able to account for the funds of this country if he cannot account for just basic, as elementary as just telling us, I attended so and so school at so and so year, I left at so and so, and then I went to the other place and all of that. If you couldn't give us all of this, it shows at the moment that he's here to prove to Nigerians that he's transparent. And so if somebody is not transparent, it is left for INEC and our laws to be able to tell us whether such a person can be a presidential candidate and stand in an election to be voted for. That I am not a lawyer, I am not a judge, but it is left for the necessary organs of government, the necessary agencies of government to be able to tell us whether such a character can continue to be the flag bearer of a ruling party.
Well, interesting time ahead as our eyes are focused on INEC to see what INEC is going to do about this. I was going to say Okowa, we're coming back to that. What INEC is going to do about Tinubu's certificate saga. It's not just, the issues of certification is not just embarrassing as it is for us as a nation, because from the high apex courts, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and of course bringing it down to the ruling party, Nigerians had that with President Muhammad Buhari. Somehow he found his way around and even gave us pictures of some members of his classmates, though they were very old pictures. But today, we don't have anything from the ruling party's presidential candidate. And then Patience is asking, will the politicians or INEC find a way to be transparent and show Nigerians that they mean well for the country? But that's not all for the certificate saga. We're going now to Delta State, where the executive governor of Delta State, Okowa, Dr. Ifeanyi Arthur Okowa, is saying, I made a BB but lost my certificate. The vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Ifeanyi Okowa, has said he lost his West African school certificate, but that he had a good result. Okowa, in his words, declared, yes, I lost my WAEC certificate, but I have the point printout from Edo College, Benin City, which clearly stated that I have a distinction in all subjects. That's not all he said. The highest school certificate was attached, and it has been acknowledged by Edo College, and the school put it out there that I made an ABB, said Okowa, who is the governor of Delta State presently. Mr. Okowa's remarks were contained in a statement issued by the press unit of Delta State Government House, Asaba. He said, I do not pride myself, but it was very difficult to make such grades in higher school at that time. My higher school result was the second best national in 1976 when I finished. So many universities admitted me through Telegram at that time, and I had to start making choices of which to accept, the governor said. Mr. Okowa went on to say he was less than 22 years old when he finished medical school at the University of Ibadan. We're coming back to it. It's still on the certificate saga.
That's the running mate.
Let me, Ade has a lot on his mind. Please unload.
One is, why does it have to be always Nigerian politicians and issue of certification?
I don't know. Let's ask you. I have no idea.
Well, the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party and governor of Delta State, Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Arthur Okowa, is telling us he has an ABB. That's a very good result. But is he also telling us that the Edo College cannot print another certificate for him if the previous one was lost? You see, for somebody to be a medical doctor, like Okowa is, I want to believe that you probably have the necessary qualifications, because the medical school is not one that is given to a lot of inconsistencies. In fact, at some point, there are exams that if you do not pass, you can no longer go beyond that point. They will ask you to go to maybe anatomy or any other department, since it appears you are not very grounded with what you said you wanted to do, because you're talking about somebody who will be given opportunity to treat lives of people. So you do not joke with this kind of people. So I believe that the issue of Okowa is a little bit different from that of Tinubu, and the reason is simple. Okowa had mentioned to us his institution. Let Tinubu tell us the institutions he attended.
Yeah, but Tinubu did that in the 1990 when he was going to be the governor of.
But that, you know, when the issue, Chief, I think Gani Fawemi, he took the case to court, up to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court says the case had been overtaken by events, because by the time he took the case to court, they were almost gone with pre-election matters. So there was no way the Supreme Court could have sat on that issue. That was why at that point the issue died a natural death. Now it is coming up again because, of course, he is recontesting a fresh election. That's why you're seeing that the CSOs and other groups and organizations are trying to see that just as the other time, they didn't have, the family did not have time to properly prosecute him. In fact, after that time, I think it was Femi Falana that was his lawyer, the lawyer to Tinubu for that particular case that Gani instituted against him, questioning the integrity of the details that he gave as his academic qualifications. So I think that, like I said, that of Okowa is a little bit different. And it is different in the sense that Okowa told us the name of the institution that he attended. He had even told us, I think, that he graduated in about 1976. So at the age of 22, thereabout. So what it means is for Okowa, not just for any, to go to that school. The school, I believe, by now, if it was a doctor, by now it should be a university. Now it should go to the institution and apply to be given a fresh certificate. They will give it to him because it is established the world over that a fire disaster, an accident, or whatever, or even a loss in a car or something in transit, it's possible that somebody could have lost their credentials. So take, for instance, on my way coming to your studio this morning, if I had carried my certificate with me and then I probably entered the car and forgot it in the car, it's possible that I would have lost it. But that does not mean that I am no longer a graduate. I am. So what it means is that I have to go back to my university, apply that for this reason, whatever reason, that my certificates are no longer there and that they should provide my certificate for me. I will be asked to pay some fees and then undergo some necessary scrutiny to be able to understand that I actually went to school, and then once the information I gave tallies with the information that the institution has, I believe the institution will give you the certificate. So I'm advising Okowa, go back to your institution, ask your institution to reissue you a new certificate so that you will not continue to tell us stories about how you got an A, B, B. We are not interested in the thing you got. The law says you should have at least a school certificate equivalent. So once you have that, then I believe, and then the explanation, the geometrical progression of your academic progress, you are able to explain to us, tell us within this year to this year, this is the primary school I attended, between this year to this year I attended secondary school, between this year to this year I attended the university. I believe that that will suffice for what we need for a qualification to be a vice president of the country.
All right, Patience, what do you have to say on this?
Okay, I'll just give a quick one. I don't know, whenever it comes towards election, you're going to see some drama and some funny kind of comments, you understand? But at least Okowa, to an extent, has defended his certificate compared to the political aspirant Ahmed Bola Tinubu. But then again, I would say there should be more investigation and check and balances to ascertain this, if it's actually true. But I want to ask, why is it that towards election, that's when you see presidential aspirants saying they have things like this popping up? Everybody are on palpable tension. What could be the reason for this?
The thing is, you know, when you aspire, to be, let's say, the governor or the president, you are not sure that your party is going to pick you. But it also shows that lack of preparation. It shows that these people are not very prepared to do the job that they aspire to do. Because there is nobody in Nigeria who grows to the point of aspiring to be a governor of a state or even an House of Assembly member that does not know that he needs a basic academic qualification to be able to contest that election. In fact, these are necessary legal procedures that you have to pass through to be able to be screened even by your own party. So the question is, what is the PDP or the APC screening committee? What job did they actually do? If at that stage, when they are supposed to go through your documents, go through your tax certificates and all of that, and be able to say, okay, this person is fit enough to be sponsored by a party to contest for the ticket of our party, what exactly do this screening committee do? Or is it just a jamboree? They just come, sit down, take a glass or two of wine, and then just write and approve that the person can contest election? Because if they actually do their jobs, we would not be where we are today. So for me, the political parties cannot absorb itself of indictment in whatever certificate saga that we have each election period that we have in this country. For me, the political parties, if possible, should suffer for the needless embarrassment, national embarrassment that their candidates are bringing upon the country.
So to just wrap up the certificate saga issue, from Tinubu to his present, whether placeholder, but his present chosen vice presidential candidate, there are issues for the vice presidential candidate of Tinubu. His Masari's case is that, he was traveling, and on his way, he was robbed, armed robbers. So they took everything, he was even traveling with his property documents. So they took it. So it was one of the things he mentioned. He had to go get an affidavit. Like you said, these men are not so old that Nigeria cannot give accounts of their schooling or whoever. Give us the name. Tell us the people. The Masari man, he did say the name of his college and some names he mentioned. But why don't you go back there and get us something to show that you were a student? So from Tinubu to Masari to the present CGN and of course Okowa and all that, do you think Nigeria can actually give us a president, that a leader, a national, whether party leader or national leader, but a president at least that have what it takes to say, to say he's the president of Nigeria, and people can look back and be proud to say this is their president?
Well, like you rightly noted, the kind of embarrassment that we have are very avoidable. They're avoidable embarrassments. If someone is contesting an election, these politicians know, in fact, from when INEC declares result of the previous election, the ones who want to be president in 2027, once they announce result next year, they're already planning themselves into power. They already, in fact, take for instance, for Nyesom Wike, we knew anybody who was a serious political observer knew 2 years ago that Wike was going to contest the election, because we saw that it was going from one point to, in fact, at some point it was almost like the mediator between all the crises that the party had. So it was obvious to us that there is more than meets the eye. So the point is that these candidates believe that Nigerians are not people they should be answerable to. Because if they think that Nigerians are people they should be answerable to, you can't plan an election for over 2 years. In fact, some of the t-shirts you see them wear, the polos that they wear during the campaigns, are made as far back as 1 year ago. Because they know this is what they want to do. The only thing they are waiting for is just to win the primaries. And once they win the primaries, why don't you ask, why is it that once the politician wins the primaries on Saturday, by Monday, there are over 10,000 t-shirts that people are wearing with his face and the party logo on it? Is it that they just did it within Sunday? Because like in the southern part of the country, which is largely a Christian environment, on Sundays people hardly open their shops. So when did they print those polos? It should tell you that those things were done before even them getting the ticket of the party. So why do you prepare for the fun fair, and then do not prepare for the right things to be done? For me, the INEC should have a rule. In fact, if it's possible to amend the 2022 Electoral Act, it should be amended that if for any reason whatsoever that you do not have your certificates, you should be disqualified from contesting the election. Once we make this very clear to everybody, every Nigerian politician will stop trying to make nonsense of the rest of us. Because if you know that, first, your party will not even allow you to contest, to vie for each ticket. And then INEC, even if you maneuver yourself and win, INEC will not allow you to contest the election. I believe that these stories that we are hearing, either for Masari or for Ariwola or for Kowa or for Tinubu, these people will sit up and go and do the serious thing that they should do. Go back to their institutions, get their certificates, and then let all of us be able to know that this is the person who wants to be the president of the country, and that this is the background that they are coming from. Because whether you like it or not, we want to know your state of mind. We want to know how refined your mindset is. Because you cannot be a graduate. Our certificate is written that you have been awarded this certificate of bachelor in whatever, in character and in learning. So the educational institution that you would have attended would have probably refined your character. Right. So this is the reason why I believe that it is made a basic qualification for somebody, because the character of the person should be at least be refined.
All right, thank you so much, Iwo, for being part of ATM Blowout this morning. It's been an honor having you here. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to meet all of you.
All right, just before we go, we know we cannot afford to let you go without bringing something very interesting your way. But this morning, we're still on the certificate saga. I'm going to start with you, Patience. In all the certificate saga, one question in my mind have always been, if we let these men who have questionable certifications from the various schools they claim to have attended hold political offices as a president, maybe as a CGN, what stories do you think, what are we telling the young people today whom we are forcing to go to school, and of course, even with ASU strike, what do you think, what message are we passing across to them? This is what is in my mind, but I don't know what's your take on the certificate saga.
I'll use among the youth, school is calm. You understand? Because a presidential aspirant is battling with certificate saga, fake certificate here and there. ASU is on strike. You could see the Nigerian education system dwindling every day. And at the end of the day, you blame the youth for carrying guns, and this leads to insecurity. You know, they say little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. This is not speaking well for the Nigerian youth. This is a bad legacy our leaders are laying, and again, it's going to boil down on the society, thereby causing insecurity and more harmful disaster. So this is not nice. This is uncalled for. There should be more transparency and accountability from whoever wants to become a leader in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much, Patience. Ade, what it is for you with all this saga and certification going around?
Let me take it to another level. It's an international embarrassment altogether.
Okay. I don't think I have anything more to say. But just one thing, INEC, would you do the needful, or would you leave Nigerians in the embarrassments that we are being forced to face again? But these and many more we'll get to look at. But don't forget, you have just one vote. Who are you going to commit these votes to? Are you going to commit it to people who are going to lead us deeper into the ditch, or you're going to commit your one vote to someone, a group of individuals who are going to take us out of the ditch? The choice is yours. Get your PVC, get registered, hold your PVC, but follow political conversations. Your future is at stake. My future is at stake. We cannot leave politicking in the hands of the politicians anymore. That has not done us any good. So follow political conversation, listen and be part of the conversation, because that is how you know who you should cast your vote for, who you should campaign for, or who you should say no to. My name is Vivian Douglas on behalf of all of us, Romantic Television Network. I want to say very good morning to you all, but of course we'll have sports talk, open conversation, open society watch, and several shows coming to you this morning. But we are not done on Blowout. We are done with it on the studio, in the studio. But let's take it off to our social media pages to continue the conversation. On Twitter, we are at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube, we are at Atlantic Television Network. And Instagram, we are Atlantic TV Network. Remember that peace and unity are the pathway to progress. Have a great day.